Mill Road and River Bend Road. Have representatives here this evening? I'll give it a call again in a minute.
Seven 20.
Are there any representatives here for Maple Lane, A&R Maple Lane Corporation on West Brookfield Road and River Bend Road? Yeah, they did say they'd be here. What time did you speak to them, please?
The other day. Last week, Wednesday, probably.
Good. Oh. What we'll do, what the board will do is, we'll move on down the agenda, please. The posted agenda, what I'd like you to look at on your agenda is number 5. Kathy, 197.40 times 2. Is there a motion, please?
I make a motion, we sign payroll for Kathy and the amount is written.
Motion made. Second? Any further conversation? It's the 2 payrolls for Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Kathy, would you send them around and we'll start the process here, please?
Could you lump all the Graves ones together?
I'm not going to because of total amounts and I'll get tongue-tied by the time I get to the third one.
As well?
We could do it as written, that's a good idea. We have 6 through 10, they're invoices for Graves Engineering.
6.
Just the amounts, if we take, 6 through 9, excuse me. Is there a motion to accept the Graves Engineering invoices as written in order, 6 through 9?
I make a motion, we accept invoices for Graves Engineering, number 6 through 9 as written.
Motion made, second?
Second.
Any conversation everybody sees, they're all for applicants, the reviews of their respective plans. So they're all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Two payroll. And then under there is this invoices CPTC 2019. The conference was held on the 16th of March. 322 planners from throughout the state were present. Of the 351 planners that there are, 322 were represented, cities and towns. It was unbelievable. The seminar, you got some of the information that were handed out at the certain seminars that I attended. It was very well done. And that's for our invoice that comes across to us once a year. Kath, do you have the invoice? Okay, no, so is there a motion to sign the invoice for CPTC 2019?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made, seconded.
Second.
I've already explained what it's for. Is there any need for further conversation, or does everybody understand? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Yeah, as soon as I walked in the door, Mr. Ramsey did very good. I said, it's all
Checks in the
It's that
mail.
way every year.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah, checks in the mail. About 8 people behind me were doing this, checks in the mail, checks in the mail. Oh my God. And we got half a pen. Is that Jeff's typing? Or is that, it's got Becky's name, is that,
It must be in there.
it's the old system, that's fine, it's
It
printed
just
up.
never was changed, and
Right,
it doesn't bother me.
thank you.
He knows it's not gonna do it.
will send check. Hopefully we just, I will send a check.
It should be already in the mail. I forgot to have that signed, I turned it in already. She said, no problem.
If you would, once that gets past Bob and it's been signed, would you go down to number 10 on the agenda, please?
That is 10.
That is 10.
11. You said someone's got TV and other after that meeting.
Get ready. That all?
Yes, Bob. Yeah, you should have everything, 5 through 9 and 10. So, we'll be running this. While the board's reviewing the minutes, I'm gonna make one more final call. Is there a representative from Maple Lane Development Corporation of West Brookfield, Mill Riverbed Road? For any, hearing none, Kathy notified him, I gave 3 calls for it. Give them a call tomorrow. If they show up, we'll try to fit it in at the end of the meeting. If they don't show up, we'll continue on and we'll end it with an adjournment.
Thank you. A signed one, yes. Great, thank you.
We're gonna open,
No, we haven't done the minutes yet.
oh, okay.
Everybody had the opportunity to read the minutes, Bob?
Yes.
Yep.
I did on
I,
some email.
all right. The review of the minutes, March 11th, 2019. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as written?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of March 11th as written.
Motion made, second.
Second.
Any discussion needed? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so you got 2 minutes or so?
Um,
7:30.
Next meeting date?
I'm sorry? No, no, not right now. You got 2 minutes before you open the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay. Huh? Yeah, you've got Coy, you've got Coy Hill, you have Goyette. Okay? That's this one right here. Look at the plan on the table here. All right, move this off. This is Goyette's, okay?
Oh,
Okay, so right here, this goes with that.
Okay, all right.
And the other ones. And, yeah, correct. Jeff is here for the, so you're all set, go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna continue the public hearing on special permit 284 and 285, site plan number 52 and 53 for ZPT Energy Solutions LLC. Wait, no.
This is the Coyle.
This is the Coyle.
Okay, all right, thank you. Evening, Madam Chair, board members. Again, for the record, Ernie Mello, 0 Point Development, ZPT Energy Solutions. Here discussing the Coy Hill application. I'd like to start just to go right into the latest memo from Graves Engineering. So recall at our last meeting, we had the same list of comments from Graves. We had received them that day before the meeting, so what we did was we explained our responses to them, and then we said we would follow up with a formal response letter from Fuss and O'Neill, which was provided. Now what we're working off, what I have is the March 23rd, which is the response after Graves has reviewed our responses to his initial letter. So this is the March 23rd memo from Graves Engineering. I believe Jeff is here as well, so please step in if you need to. But I'd like to just go right to, there's only, I think, 11 comments. The first 1, 2, 3, 4 were either an acknowledgement or a no further comment from the first. We kind of spoke through those. I think we addressed those comments. The really substantial ones were comments 6 and 7, which had to do with the hydrology calculations and the stormwater management. So we had said at our last meeting that it was, I don't want to say a clerical error, but there was just some information that hadn't made its way from us over to Graves. We had supplied that information, and now here's the response. So I think on both these comments, and Jeff, please correct me if I'm wrong, but he's acknowledging that he has reviewed those additional pieces of information and they were sufficient to address the comments there based on the comments that were initially made. So that's 6 and 7, probably the biggest comments out of the whole list. Comment 9 was on the decommissioning, so we hadn't provided a specific estimate for the surety amount. So that was provided. We provided that to the board and to Graves Engineering. So the number there is $127,275. So there was a request to update the bond amount for inflation. That was put in there. It seems like the bond number has been reviewed and is comparable to other projects that Graves has reviewed in the past, so they're, I believe, recommending that as a suitable number for the surety bond, given their experience. And then there was also a request to take out or add some language into the report that says that the disassembly of the panels has to be done off-site, which that was included and revised in there as well. So I believe that comment is addressed as well. So really the only comment that stands here is the comment number 5, which had to do with the setbacks and which bylaws we're subject to. So we touched on it really briefly at the last meeting. I know the board was gonna talk to town council. Since the last meeting, from now, obviously our stance and the whole basis of the lawsuit between ZPT Energy Solutions and the town here is that we believe we're subject to the previous version of the bylaws, where solar was allowed through site plan review rather than special permit, and the setbacks were different as well. So the setbacks in this zone were only 25 feet previously. Now they've been increased to 100 feet. So since that meeting, we have a decision here from the judge based on that disagreement, and the judge has ruled that the submission of the A&R plan was done prior to the zoning change and agrees with our claim that basically we're subject to the previous version of the bylaw, so we really don't need special permit. We're subject to site plan review, and the setbacks are the old version of the setback. So according to this decision, our proposal is compliant. It's outside of the 25-foot building setbacks there. So that's the order from the judge. I have a copy. I'm sure the board is aware of that. What we would like to do tonight if the board is agreeing on that or feels the same way as we do with that decision, we'd like to get a vote on the site plan approval, on the site plan review, and withdraw the special permit, because based on this information, we're saying that we don't need the special permit. So that's what we would like to do tonight, is get a vote on the site plan review and follow with a withdrawal of the special permit without prejudice. And I think in that case, we would have what we need to move forward with the project.
As I have in the past, I am speaking as the chair and the chair only. With further discussion and no input on your plans or presentation, the board has not made a decision whether they will appeal the judge's decision or not. So therefore, everything was still up in the air. You have a judge's decision, and we have the right to appeal. In speaking with legal counsel today, we still have a 30-day appeal period. Until the board makes up its mind on the appeal, whether we will or not, we will not have a decision at this time. Thank you.
Okay, so we don't want to obviously withdraw our special permit until the board comes to a decision. So I think there's really two ways that we can do it. We'd like to continue to keep our site plan consistent with how we've designed it, so.
There's no
We
problem
can
with
keep the
that. The
special
board
permit.
will, again, I will speak. The board will continue on entertaining your proposal, okay? We're not denying you any of that. You're gonna present it the way it is. That's fine. But the comment made on the decision by the judge, still, we have 30 days.
Okay.
And I'm sure your lawyer just informed you of that, way you knew that, okay?
Mhm.
And we will take that time or until a decision is made, okay? But keep going with what you got. Sue, go ahead.
Okay, and with that, I am going off this, so that was the last comment based on Graves' review. I have the engineer of record, Dan Delaney with Fuss and O'Neill, with me to answer questions, so if there's additional questions outside of Graves Engineering, we can entertain those from the board. And we have our materials with us, so.
Are there any questions from the board?
None from me, Madam Chairman.
Not yet.
Alyssa? So, a motion to continue?
It's up to you folks. I recuse myself from this, folks. Remember that.
I think we have to
recuse
until
myself,
the
except
board,
to
I
represent-
mean,
Makes
we
the
just heard
decision.
from our lawyer today, just an hour before you got here. So I think until that's determined by this board, what we're going to do, the only thing you can do is continue it.
Yeah, I'll just say this to add a little color, I guess, to the discussion. We're trying to get to the point where we have a permit so we can move forward. So I think there's really two options we could do. One is what I described previously, which is withdraw the special permit, hopefully get the site plan approval here and move forward. And then everything kind of just goes away, the law, additional lawsuits, we move forward, everything is kind of in the past here and we go forward. Or we have the special permit route. If the board feels that this project has been reviewed and that are comfortable voting on this, we can apply for a waiver for the 100-foot setback and move forward with the special permit. We can do it either way. We can go forward with the special permit, but what we're holding on to is the fact to keep the design consistent, because we do feel like that we have the right to be governed under the previous set of bylaws. So we do feel like our site plan is in compliance with the town's bylaws. We're just trying to figure out the best way to get some sort of approval that we can move forward with. So if the board would rather us request a waiver for the setbacks and get special permit, we're okay with that route as well.
Well, one comment, we wouldn't be voting tonight on this anyway. This
Sure.
We never just vote on them when we continue a hearing or close a hearing or anything. We don't vote the same night that it's closed.
I'm nervous about closing it until we
Yeah.
have some clarity just on our route of which way we wanna go, with the appeal.
So continue. We Okay, and, is there a motion to continue the hearing?
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing for site plan, special permit 284 and 285, site plan physical improvement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None. And one abstention?
No, recused.
Recused, not abstention.
Recused.
We just request that we be put on the next meeting, the next possible meeting, if we could, 2 weeks. I don't know when the town's next meeting is here, but we'd like to be put on the agenda for the next meeting for, try to handle this
Okay.
in a timely manner if
So
possible.
It's up to
That's
Kathy.
okay, that's okay.
The first, we have quite a bit going on. We have an A&R, Cutler Road.
Kathy, just pick the date.
Do the 8th, are we doing 4 meetings in a row?
Yeah.
Because we have one on the 15th, we'll have one on the 22nd too.
We've
So,
been doing 4 in a
You wanna
row.
do the 8th on the 29th? How long,
How busy-
before you have a decision?
How busy is the 15th?
We have a public hearing for the bylaw change.
And if I may, that won't take all night. So if the applicant now is asking the next possible, and that's all we have on the 15th,
Mm-hmm.
the public hearing is at what time, please?
6:15?
8 o'clock. That shouldn't take that long on the public hearing. Bob? Derick? Melissa?
Yep.
Sue? 8 o'clock on the 15th, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Right now, you've got another one to do. So, you got three?
Yeah. Okay, next,
What time is it?
doesn't have a
Oh, it
time.
doesn't, okay, that's right.
It's just right after. Continue the public hearing for special permit 289, site plan number 57 for ZPT Energy Solutions. On Reed Street.
Good evening, just to reintroduce myself, my name is Adam Christie, representing ZPT on the 729 Reed Street project. Since the last meeting, similar to the last project, we received follow-up response from Graves. Similarly, we received those comments prior to the last meeting. We had minor comments to address. We submitted to the town, we submitted them to Graves, and on Saturday, we got a satisfactory letter on all of the issues. I can run through them real quick since there's only a few. The first one was in regards to earthwork material. We indicated that the site would be roughly balanced, so it was acknowledged. The zoning bylaw, comment number 2, regarding no vehicles on Reed Street. We've indicated in the plans and in the notes that there will be no parking on Reed Street and stated where the construction vehicles will be, so that was acknowledged. Comment number 3 was in regards to the electrical equipment, basically he was referring to like the electrical inspector for review of those items. So we had no comment on that. The next one was regarding the glare analysis, no further comment. Item number 5, proof of liability, financial surety, no comment. All of that was provided prior. Item 6, item 6 was in regards to the 150-foot selective trimming, 150 natural buffer for the bylaw. And at the last meeting, we explained what our plan was. We showed the detail, and I think there was one page that we had to clarify a line on the site prep plan. And I believe since then we submitted a waiver request to Kathy, and she informed me that it was passed with a 3-to-1, or would be. So I don't know if there's any further discussion that the board would like to have on that natural buffer for the waiver that we submitted.
Just there was a definition of tapering of the trees.
Yes.
Who does it? Snow plan, height, and how many?
So we have tree contractors and arborists. Well, they have arborists on staff, and so essentially what we'll do is we would clear up to that 150-foot line, and then that 100-foot zone would be reviewed by the arborist and identify which obviously if there's trees at 120 feet, those won't be identified to be cut. But anything that's smaller than a certain height will be left, and that'll all be reviewed by the arborist of the tree company that we hire. And depending on the time of year, who's available, we've got 2 that we generally use. So it would be an arborist that would go out there to identify the ones that, because there may be a tree that may be taller than another tree next to it, but the type of it would grow slower, so they'll identify those trees.
Okay, and I think we mentioned about having, Ken go out too?
He, excuse me, he cannot do that.
Oh, okay.
He got back to me, so I will answer that question. He cannot do it because he's the town,
Oh, okay.
okay? The
All
board
right.
can consider other options if they were.
Well, he could oversee it though.
No,
He can't look at their
He
plan
will,
and
he
say.
will not do that.
No, huh?
He has said emphatically no. He'll give you a name, but he says no.
Okay,
Alright.
so we take that under consideration.
How many 150-foot linear feet are in this, the waiver?
Do you ever scale? Basically, we just, I use something of this distance here. Oh. That's 500 feet. Approximately 1,200, 1,200 to 1,400 linear feet.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I personally don't have much of a problem with that buffer on that side because it's so far inward. But I absolutely would like to have a copy of whatever you're going to use for height of trees. So whatever your arborist that you hire shows, I'd like to make sure we get a copy of that before
Okay.
you start cutting, in case we want to have an arborist look at the plan and say, yeah, this is a good, these are slow growing trees, these are fast growing trees. I'm not a tree expert, so I just like to see that, but I personally don't, I just don't wanna see it clear cut to the 150-foot line, you know what I'm
No,
saying?
absolutely.
I wanna make sure that we're tapering and cutting out the trees that we're supposed to, but
Sure.
personally, just so you know, I don't really have a problem with that for shielding and all that, because it's far enough away from anybody.
Sure, and so out of that selective trimming, that would just be the 100-foot taper.
Yeah.
And the original 50 off of the property line will remain. But absolutely, we could provide those, any reports that we get from them.
Somebody's
or
gonna ask me in
identification.
town, and I'd just like to have an idea of how many board feet we're cutting out of there, that's all. That's basically what it is, it's just for, when I'm talking to people in town and they're asking me, well, you cut down half the forest, I can educate somebody and say, what we cut down was this.
Because
This is why.
I've been through, I mean, this entire section on
There's not a lot
Mr.
there.
Goyette's. There's not a lot of trees in that area because where it's the kind of the peak and then it falls off, it's very rocky. So any trees that are going to be over there to be selectively cut, you're probably not looking at a lot because you know the amount of trees that you're going to have in that area are going to be a lot less than you're going to have in the other areas of the site. But absolutely, we'll.
I mean, that's my old hunting, I know that property like the back of my hand, so.
Yeah, yeah, because I know from up there, you know, definitely like right at the ridge. I mean,
There's not
a
much.
lot of rock.
There's not much there that's real tall.
Yeah. So item 7 was in regards to some hydrology calculations and proposed watershed map had been revised to reflect something that the original comment was made by Jeff. So that was acknowledged. Same with 8 and 9 regarding the basins and just some clarification. And the checklist on item 9 was just a formality administrative item. Item 10, same thing regarding a swale and modeling, just a clarification, that was acknowledged. Item 11 was in regards to a turnaround, so we added another turnaround by the entrance of the site outside of the fence, so that was acknowledged. The wooden guardrail detail was omitted on the original plan, so that was provided and added, just a standard wooden guardrail, and we have that reviewed by Concom since that's the only location it's gonna be to further protect the wetlands in that small stretch of that, basically right in here, where the two wetlands sort of combine, and there's just a road in between it, so that's the only location where the guardrails are. Item 13 regarding decommissioning plan, we added inflation, we removed the salvage value, submitted that. Again, Jeff commented that it's comparable to other projects that they've reviewed. And item 14 was in regards to soliciting comments from the fire department. And I think that was a general statement. I don't think it was anything specific from Jeff on what to comment on, other than I'm sure access or accessibility and probably the batteries. So I don't know if you have any comments on, I believe there was a representative from the fire department earlier, but I don't think he's here now. So I don't know if you have any further questions in relation to accessibility or more discussion on the battery fire suppression system. Anything.
Do you have any questions?
Have you seen, probably, it's hard for me to express it, but have you seen one of the houses that is on the east side of the property, which is kind of like in a bowl?
The house is in a bowl down here?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I'm just afraid that during construction, he's gonna suffer from flooding. There's anything we could,
The runoff doesn't go over there. There's a ridge.
yeah, but
So
water
the-
level will do so. I'm just concerned. I'm worried of that property.
Yeah, I mean, we have erosion sedimentation control along that perimeter on the edge, but the stormwater is running away from that area. So
Okay.
there's nothing from our site that's gonna get into that bowl.
And in addition to that, we have controls during construction, whether it's,
So let's say
Bales,
during
sometimes.
construction, he gets flooded.
we have to react to it.
Yeah, if there's, hydraulically, if something were to change on that site and something from our site were to get there, which as designed and everything now it doesn't, we would be responsible for anything, just like in any construction site, whether it's a wetland that's running towards or whether it's a butters or a road, that's on us as the EPC, the builders of the project, Protect. That's part of the SWIP, which you've requested copies of. I know you and Jeff mentioned as well. So the stormwater pollution prevention plan reports will be done, per the federal regulations, and basically we have to adhere to that plan for any situation like that.
And Adam brought up something that I think I mentioned initially, and that is that one of the differentiators with our firm is that we not only develop the project, but we actually construct it. So it's not as if we're hiring a third-party contractor to do all the work. We have our own iron, we do all the earthwork, and so we're in control of that. And if there's an issue, it's our responsibility.
For the record, as a reminder, Barry Skolchi, he's with Protect, represents EPT as well.
Any questions?
I would like to know if Jeff from Graves Engineering is satisfied with all of the responses that you received, or do you have any concerns with?
Thank you, Melissa. For the record, my name is Jeff Walsh. I'm with Graves Engineering, peer review consultant for the planning board. I am satisfied with the responses, the revisions, and so forth. We didn't have many comments to begin with, but those that we did raise in our first round, our first letter, were in fact satisfactorily addressed. I issued the letter just a couple of days ago. I apologize. I've had the materials in the office a little while longer, but things are fortunately, but unfortunately. And nevertheless, I wanted to make sure I had a letter in your hands by this morning, so make sure. But yes, I am satisfied. Even as explained with respect to the taper zone, the 100-foot taper zone, I personally didn't have a problem with it. I think at the last public hearing, it was explained what the intention was with it, and I didn't fully grasp the intention until explained at the last public hearing by the applicant's team. And I apologize, in the letter there's reference to a possibility that this was part of the judgment that was handed down by court. I don't know if that's the case or not.
No, it is not.
My apologies then. I thought it was, from what I understood of it, there might have been more than one sites in Warren by the applicant, and I assumed that this was one of those sites. So nevertheless, the taper zone, it does fall under the current zoning bylaw. I'm okay with it. And I don't think there are abutting residential properties, but the dwellings of those properties are quite a way from the property line. And my read on the topographic, offsite topographies, there might be a ridge that is between those, between the dwellings and the property line, which further adds to the buffering, the visual buffering. That's it, thank you.
Do we want to close this one? Yeah. Is there a motion to close the hearing for this site?
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we close this hearing for Reed Street site as managed by DPT.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And one. Okay. So the hearing is closed, so there, nothing else can be presented,
You'll get our decision.
and then we'll do all the, put the Kathy now.
You wanna answer now while I'm done? You're like 3 in mine.
Was what I provided helpful?
Yes, it's pretty much what I had.
Great.
It is in the works, but I still have lots to do. Depends how long the board wants to review.
I need 1 meeting a week at least to
Yeah.
review, possibly 2 to get all the conditions together. That's just me.
I'm gonna at least need another week to get it done,
So,
since I've limited hours.
So you know the deadlines and the time frame, so you can tell us.
What is the deadline on this one?
Don't have much time after they close.
In 14 days.
14 days. Alright, good. I'm good. As long as I got a week, I'm good.
I need at least a week to set it up, and finish it up. So,
Looks like it
we're at
would
the
be-
25th,
Looks like it would be like the 1st or the 8th, right?
Right.
Sounds good to me.
8th.
That's the date available,
Yeah.
Kathy, you tell them.
so we'll add
Okay.
another meeting,
Yeah, huh?
we'll add another meeting in April.
Do you want them? That'll be 4.
Yeah.
Process is that that's the way it is, then we have to do it,
Yeah, that's
okay?
fine,
The time
just get it done.
restrictions are there,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be followed, right?
7:30,
Okay,
all good?
yeah.
Okay, very good.
Thank you very much.
And then we'll let you know on the other one.
Anybody miss?
Oh, thank you, I was talking to him.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Just stay on that.
yeah.
Did you want to move Boy Hill to the 8th?
No,
Oh,
We'll-
wait a
we'll
minute,
let
wait a
them
minute.
know. No, we'll let them know, okay, we can just, you guys could discuss it on the availability.
That'd make it
Yeah,
easier.
make it easier.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah.
Let Kathy,
Can we move you to the 8th? Would that be
Sure.
better than the,
Yep.
15.
make it easier for us?
Yep.
Kathy, 8 o'clock. Okay, 8 o'clock on the
Okay,
8th.
yep,
Okay?
thank you.
Mr.
Chairman, is there any other business I should stick around?
Jeff,
for?
no, thank you, that was it, reference those
Okay.
two, you'll probably have more coming at you, you'll have stuff that'll be followed up, so we'll be speaking with you, all right?
Okay, thank you very much.
for
Thank
just
you
the
all.
presence this evening, thank you very much.
Are you
welcome,
coming
Mr.
for Cutler Road for the first?
Yes, I'm planning to get the.
Okay, that would be the next.
I got a room I can rent you.
I'm sorry?
I said, I got a room I can rent you.
That's all right, it's not a bad drive, really. I do enjoy the ride out here.
Why not?
And good company once I get here.
Thank you, you too. We're all set with ZPT, right, both of them?
Yeah.
We're done. I'm gonna, ask for a 5-minute recess, so I can get a question answered for us. Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we
Okay.
5 minutes.
5-minute motion, 5-minute recess.
Bragg Road.
Angel? Angel? That,
That one I was gonna start setting up, this week. I
yeah,
was gonna
Kathy will
put
get
them
back to you on that one there, okay?
22nd,
That we have you.
When was that?
22nd of April.
For a public hearing? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, for the A&R?
Oh, for the A&R.
Not the
Are
site
you
plan.
doing the A&R
Oh,
next-
yes,
next
we're-
meeting? Oh, you got it here? or-
Well, it's on the agenda tonight.
It is.
I
Well,
thought I read one.
Kathy, it is, but, all right, yes, you have an agenda, you have that tonight. All right?
That was the one that was supposed to be here
that
at
was-
7:15?
I might have, maybe I mixed the two up, because.
No,
That's not
No, there's
I
no
might have
time
mixed
on
it
that.
up.
Okay.
I bet you that's what I did. I mixed the two A&Rs up.
That's fine,
We're
that's
hearing
fine.
them.
They're
I'm
here
not.
and
Okay, you're here.
no problem, we can do that. At
Yeah,
this
that's why I
time,
was
there's,
confused.
at this time, there's an A&R, and that would be for CPT on Bragg Road, reference the Angelo accumulation of 3 lots into one, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And Albert's.
yeah, yes, Mr. Roberts. All right, Kathy, Sue, you've got that, and we don't need the recess motion, I can recuse myself, okay?
A&Rs.
So I know you've asked for updated checks, multiple.
Yes,
one for
yes,
each
I
one.
did.
And,
And the two Form As.
yeah, so the Form As, I know you mentioned something in the email, but we were advised to keep the same dates, so here are the originals for an Angelo signature. Here are the originals for an Albert signature. And these are all the requisite copies, along with the letter from our attorney, indicating what we were doing with them, because where it's the different owners and the 3 lots, and that, you know, there is a purchase and sale agreement, and so that's why it's essentially one, but the town has asked for basically 2 applications, 2 checks. So I don't know if you need this as well. That's pretty much possession confusing.
Keep sending it back.
And then here's the Mylar copies, and the paper copies, original stamp from our surveyor.
No way, I'm not a fool. I'm out to buy you lunch.
We have to sign those. Yeah,
You just
for
made a
every
mistake,
mark.
didn't I?
Would anybody like to look at a paper copy?
We have to.
Yes, wow. I don't know if anybody wanted to share, or,
Oh, we have to sign those.
share here one.
do you have to sign the paper ones, or just the Mylar?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
Oh, fun. So I'll leave the Mylar right here.
Yeah, we don't need
So just one to review, and then I'll unroll the rest of them.
And then we'll just send them all down.
It's in portrait format, it's large size, it's a little awkward. At least I didn't go 30 by 42, but that's not registry standard, so.
All right, right.
Okay, Cronin here. That's those. Okay. Yep, go ahead.
Oh, would you play those against me?
Oh, there's John and then.
where that White House is.
Could we have one of those? Could we have one of those?
Those are official copies.
This is Bragg.
Site right here.
Okay. So we should look.
This one,
Should be three right in a row.
Alex. Oh, it's this one.
So it's 4 small parcels, no, I shouldn't say small, but there's 4 separate parcels that consist of what the A&R plan is for.
Can you kind of come over here and point it out?
So this is
Bill,
Albert.
So we've got Albert's here.
Yeah.
So this is an interior lot line, so this makes up the 2 that he owns.
Yeah,
So we've got the 5.23 acres, we got the 21.85. We have the 25-acre piece that Angelo owns, which was previously owned by Albert's. And then we have this piece over here that Angelo owns as well. So it's those 4 pieces, and Mr. Angelo, we're, obviously part of the letter that was submitted with this, we're doing a purchase and sale agreement with Mr. Albert's, which is the 2 frontage lots.
yeah.
And those lots, with the conclusion of permitting and everything else that we have to do to have a viable project, once all that's said and done, the land will then be conveyed to Mr. Angelo, and he will be the landowner of the 4. Which is why on the notes here, there's a note on the plan that talked about, I believe, conveying it,
Oh, okay.
or to the. We checked the Mylar, piece of paper. Yeah, it says part. Oh, sorry, I was thinking of something else. So it's just those 4, there's not a note on it.
But how much,
Is this one on 10? On the front?
no, it's more than that, it goes from here to here is 110.
Oh, okay. And 30.
What is it, 120?
Total locus frontage 202. So this will be your access here?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to sign the A&Rs? Is
I'll make a motion to sign the A&Rs.
there a second? You guys,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Here, you want to sign this one, I'll pass this one along.
Shakespeare wasn't feeling being tired.
You can.
We're good now, right?
We're good. And you did get the check, right? Like, the check was in there, the old one.
Yes, I got the old one back, I'll take care of it.
Sign that one. See where these are all signed?
You want just regular pen,
Oh,
right?
fine then.
Yeah.
I have the other one for the main.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Where you going?
I didn't date any of those. 325?
225,
So
yeah.
my bucket list.
Yep,
Do them all and then pass it.
I'm gonna do a stay vacation.
you only got 2 there.
Those need to be dated too.
I do.
Yeah, we didn't put the date on that.
So that's fine. That works.
He's gonna be mine. My granddaughter too.
I have a four.
Yeah, my mother's four too.
Yeah.
So they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We gotta put dates on all these.
So we're going down,
You gotta put the date.
I have my grandson every day before school and after school.
Well, that's nice.
Did you guys sign
My
on?
granddaughter goes to
Yeah, I
daycare.
signed it too. You guys signed it too?
My daughter works out of town, so she walks them off. Get a lot of fun.
We do a lot of things. It's actually a lot of fun.
The Mylars, once those get signed, is there
No, you take them and you bring to registry.
Yeah, did you have me?
how much you told me to make?
They tell us, and I don't know why, because really I only
Well,
need two.
Well, they
It's actually
And then one for
double.
the owners, you want one for,
Well, so the quantity is double because we're two separate applications, one for Albert, one.
Oh,
So
yeah.
technically, you probably could have signed half of them, but administratively,
but they're. So I'm gonna keep four, and then you do.
If there's two applications, they have to keep it up.
Right, because I need one and the clerk needs one, so really we only need two. Because I mean, I got the extras and I just
I
got
got
a
another
folder.
piece of wallpaper that I have to do for that one.
Well, I have 1,000 plans.
Seems like it's all I read in the
About a
bathroom.
month or two.
at least that's what you're using for, reading.
Boy said, what are you doing in there? I'm reading.
I use extra seats for my kids, so it's color on the back.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna bring some of them.
You guys probably generate a lot that you don't use, change and change and change, and that's.
Sometimes it's ridiculous, I mean, I used to be a consultant and like, just see how many of it, now we pay.
I just think of my poor trees all doing this stuff.
I bring those to daycare and then they use them to color them.
Yeah,
I think that's a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
If you do want to come back and get the plans, when we're all done, come back and get them and
Easier for us to move.
right into a daycare, if we never have certain ones.
Yeah, both my kids. Best is when a roll is damaged,
Now I know why.
and then you just tell the company, and they're like, oh, just keep it, we'll send a new one. So I take a whole giant roll, if I did yours, then
Well, this girl should take it to my granddaughter.
She's caught one. I think it's another one to take. She actually sits, we have a small cherry tree, she actually climbs up and sits in the trees and waits for the birds to come. I didn't smudge it, did I?
I don't wanna be the one to smudge it, so I'm not gonna do
And
it.
if those, so you can have them for the owner. Copy
yeah, we got
your-
the same copies, which is good, rather than us scanning and printing, we use those.
There's a way to fold it, or it's really good, and you can't hurt it.
Oh, I know how to do it. Tomorrow I'll be doing that.
You fold it on the face like this, then you fold it back,
Yeah.
and then you.
Yeah.
Looking at reviews.
Here's your money.
Just be careful of this, but
Yeah, I know.
No, I've been looking at it.
Did it right?
Those ones.
outside.
Failed.
Yeah, this is the outside, but it's,
Oh, you can see the water. I took
Yeah,
some
we
pictures.
signed
double
It's
check.
all done, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, not inside, outside. Fail.
That's good. Oh, right there.
see one and I go on the surroundings and I can.
Worst, somebody uses the wrong kind of Mylar and runs.
Or the wrong pen, so hopefully we have the final.
So the,
They have like different millipus, like 4, 3, we get 3 bleeds.
the A&R that we thought we were having wasn't the one for tonight?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
All right.
Yeah,
It would have not.
right.
Bob, Derick, you guys all set?
You write it down, A&R, and then I like,
Have a nice evening.
yeah, good, here. I guess I didn't guess.
In the file. Paperwork.
All right, see you on the 8th.
On the 8th, thank you, have a good night.
Good night. In your
Yep.
move over.
I don't know if it's green.
Well, whatever plan you got, please open it up to,
This?
The article?
yeah, hold on,
No.
the whole, I gotta get mine in. The, yeah, decision for Sincarfa, Little West Road. Want to take it up, please?
Oh, it's right here.
About the waiver that we had talked about.
Yeah. Just some through it, Bob, there's 48 different pages there. What I'd like you to do now is just start from the cover page, and take about 5 minutes, go through it. All right, and at that time, if there's any deletions, anything you wish to add, anything you wish to make a statement about, please do so. So do so freely. What is this?
There was a few little changes from Bill Scanlon, so I did put them in,
All of his changes are in red, I'm assuming?
yes, his changes, and then I
If
just
you have that one
redid
there.
mine.
Yeah.
Oh, we got the other one too?
You have both in there, Sue. One is is Kathy's, the other one was from Bill Scanlon.
And I did put in his changes. They were good changes.
Kathy, why did I get this?
Because remember I asked you about the, I found it in the,
Yeah, Melissa, can I just please, thank you. We addressed this, didn't we, Kathy?
that's what I wasn't sure about, so I looked into it and that's all I could find. So I don't think we ever made a motion on it.
Okay. Have you spoken with Dawn at all?
No, I didn't have a chance to.
You gotta get a number from that, for that, right?
We have a number?
She did give us a number?
Oh, for
Not a
the,
telephone number, a dollar, dollar figure.
they give it to us.
Yes, did they give it to her?
Yes.
And did she agree, or is there gonna be any questions about it based on what everybody's talking about?
Well, she's not in on that part. It would be Sincarfa, us, and Graves. Graves reviews it.
They approved, they approved the ones tonight, the $90 amount.
Well, what am I looking at 12.5 for?
This is the new one. There's no red on it.
Yeah. Was that deleted out of the other end? You want, you have the final, I have what Bill has. Did we delete what is in red here?
Mm-hmm. I know
Out
it's,
of that, okay, that's what I want. Thank you.
mostly this is just to see if we need changes, right?
Yeah,
So we can have it ready for next meeting.
yes, thank you.
You just have to fill in the dates that,
Once I know when we close and.
Yeah,
I think it's closed. Can we close that one?
No.
No.
if anybody's towards the end, page 6 of 8, number 5. If you pass, you're fine, if you don't, review it when you get there. Anybody have a problem with that? Or does anybody wish to add, delete, or whatever? Remember, this is the review now, and we still have the time to add, delete, and change over, so.
I don't think it should say no Saturdays because construction, you've got weather,
Yep.
right?
And you got a residential area, and you got families on Saturdays around it, okay?
I know.
And you gotta take into consideration health, welfare, and safety. It's up to the board.
It's a short period of time though, isn't it, for that?
The actual construction, it's fairly short.
Then
You've done
figure it out.
before,
Then
up
figure
until
it
like
out.
noon.
Yeah,
It's up between you
because
guys.
I don't think we should have no Saturdays, because I know construction is
That
based
was
on
brought up
weather.
at, so the reason that was put that way,
Yeah,
that was brought up at the seminar.
yeah, but
Okay,
they're not
and
contractors.
And when you, to consider, it's not
Yeah.
unreasonable, it's not denying, it's telling them
Yeah,
for health and for safety, all right? And those, 3 of those standards stand out, okay, in conversation with other planners, because of where it's located. Now, each scenario is different, each scenario is 100 times different than the first one, the golf
Oh, yeah.
course. Alright? You're not being unreasonable. They have enough time to work, a regular work day. If a person can't sit out in their backyard on a Sunday afternoon, on a
Well, I
Saturday,
didn't say Sunday.
on a I just corrected myself, didn't I?
Yeah.
On a Saturday, then be prepared. Okay. I'm not saying that is what I will. I will, whatever the board wishes, I will go with what the board wishes.
So Jack, the inspector, he does the inspections during construction?
Does Jack?
Yeah. It's a,
He has, I don't know what's been going, has he been going out to the sites recently?
There hasn't been any sites for him to go to.
Well, in the past, the last one, Mike's, he went out and did Mike's, because we
Before
were,
my time, I don't know.
because Becky and I were involved with site inspections with them. Upon request, you can have. Also, remember what Jeff Blake said, a month ago. You can have incurred one of their engineers to go out on a bi-weekly or monthly basis to sit down, review, and walk through everything also,
Yeah,
to protect. So, that's an option that still exists with
I
us.
think we should,
who should do that?
I think we should name somebody as a clerk of the works and have
What-
them, you know, go out there every week, whatever.
Figure out what you want. That's the thing. Because Jeff brought it up, we were talking about that, and he said, we do it now, we've been doing it. We don't have a clerk of the works. That is not me or Kathy. Jack is the building inspector. He issues the permit, and then a follow-up, just like, whatever, every 6 months.
Construction goes pretty quick. What if we did it for each phase, since we're making them
Melissa,
do
that
them
would
in
be
the
fine.
phases? We can have it inspected at each phase, as each phase is completed.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Go ahead, Bob.
No, good idea. I go with that.
A representative from Graves Engineering, the peer review engineering firm, will be on site, and then you just state when and how many times or when.
Well,
When the
yeah,
board.
he said he would do that.
There you go. So that, that's something that can be added in or reconfigured in that stuff there.
Is there,
You can refer back to their decision that they wrote too. Carter gave their decision, what they wanted, okay? But in reference to that, right here, 13 basins shall be cleaned, stabilized before final inspection. And then continually inspected 3 times a year for the first 5 years. Because basins are doing what? Filling up all the
Filling
time,
up.
right? Water's coming in with other debris, the water drains, it gets hard, next thing you know, an 18-inch basin is now 2. Now, those can be put into this. That, I'm glad this is being. Here, I gave you this. Everybody has a copy of this?
yeah.
Okay, and this is what they gave us there Saturday, a couple Saturdays ago. And when you look through this, this is formulated by input by many of the towns and cities, and whom I am very much in favor of, University of Massachusetts Extension Services, and the Mass Association of Regional Planning Agencies and Planning Directors. They've taken in everything here. You follow this format, and then as they said, each site plan that you get an applicant, as you go on, you review the last 2 that you did, and you'll find out that you're further correcting as you go on. But this is a real good guideline on how it's done.
So we do have it in here that any rainfalls greater than an inch will be inspected for the first 2 years.
Right, I'm talking about basins shall be cleaned and stabilized, not the measurement, sure, but cleaning them out.
Actually physically.
And then, remember they talked about a swale on the right hand? Well, as I'm looking up the hill, from Brimfield back up, they have that whole swale along the side. They're putting on a buffer swale. I believe Carter referred to, you know, how deep it is. Again, that swale shall be consistently monitored for fill and depth, reduction. That's the word, depth reduction.
Are they all having, we don't know, if they're having cameras for them to monitor their things that they could share on our website, so we can have that too.
We have to take that statement, Derick, and turn it into a decision. You will. Okay, have. Because seeing everything's closed, we can't go back and talk about it, but if we put, I'm sorry.
Sorry, didn't he offer to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he put it in,
He was gonna put it
He
in
gave
the
us a
school.
link.
Yeah.
And he was gonna give us a link.
But if we put it in the decision, in
Then they
the
have-
we
wording.
can use his wording for.
Yeah.
On the link, he has the benefits for the town, and I asked him, you can put, you know, your monitor cameras there, so, you know, at least we can see too.
There's nothing, I didn't read anything on the buffer either. I thought we had them replacing some of that.
I thought they changed.
That's
their
on there.
footprint.
It's not on, that's what agreement they made with.
That's what they agreed to with the butters. That's not us, that's
I
their
think we should make them
agreement.
put it back.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, that's my opinion.
yeah, but if the landowner had it cut back, we went through this before, they do it before the solar companies even come in.
The first paragraph on this lesson given, it's in reference to a good defensible decision, and that's what they have to be. All right? And the way it's written, and anything we put in, just like the conversation earlier this evening, and what we've had, if it's there and reasonable, argue all you want. And everything here can be added reasonably. Based on what you're looking at now and reading, Kathy, do you want them to email you fills, or do we wish, and this is to the board, do you want to email your adds, deletes, and to Kathy and have her put it in, or would you rather meet next meeting Monday night and give you an opportunity to review it, read the paperwork I got you, work it into here, and then we can all talk about it next Monday night? What would you like to do?
I can, personally, for me, Mr. Chairman, I can send it to Kathy during the week. I mean, I'm gonna read it during the week, so.
How do you feel, Melissa?
It'll probably be the weekend for me.
No, but would you rather email it to Kathy, or would you rather email it?
I'll bring it Monday.
You would bring it in Monday, that's fine. So everything will go into Kathy on Monday, email yours, Bob, or whoever.
Yeah, because I will feel very comfortable if we get copies of their SNPs records during construction.
You've mentioned that, and we,
That's in
actually
there.
Kathy
It's
and
in
I
there.
talked
It's in
about
there.
it.
Because
It's in here.
Yeah.
that, you know, with that, at least, if something goes wrong, let's say they're during construction and they do another process, and something fails down the road, we have that.
Mhm.
You know, otherwise, they'll turn at us and say, why you didn't provide, you know, a solution for this? Somebody outside us has to look at it and say, yeah, they're doing it right.
How often do you want an update or a report? We've got a 6-month project, I don't know.
Every 4 weeks or something, it's.
Don't, just You pick a number,
Is
we'll
it in
agree, I mean,
Copy whenever they have to file it, whenever they're
Yeah, they-
required to file it by the state?
Yeah, they just have to file it at certain times, so if we get a copy when they have to file,
Yeah, because they have to come and inspect.
yeah.
okay. So upon inspection of the project by whoever it may be, whatever the word is, we would want to report within 72 hours of the inspection by, well, is that, I don't know.
We
engineer.
should, you know who we should ask? Graves.
I think we're
Can you
just,
call it that?
I think
Yeah,
we
we-
had it.
Yeah,
We're
but-
saying, whenever you file
Told
your
us.
Swift report, we want a copy.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so.
That's number 19, if you guys look at 19 on
Right.
the decision.
It's
board.
already there.
Page 7.
Yeah, but that says,
Yeah,
the
it
final
has to
one.
provide copies.
That's the final one.
That just says final.
And final, including but not limited to site inspection reports and final closeout
It
documentation
means
to
all
the
of them.
planning board.
It's not just the final, it's all of them.
I think she's got it.
If that's what you feel is good enough, fine.
Do we wanna have like Graves do a proposal of being here, there for the inspections?
They already said that. He
Yeah,
said
but
that's
maybe-
part of their,
No.
Right,
He said
right,
that-
he hasn't done a proposal for that, so we
Right.
don't have that
He hasn't done
work.
one, so-
because he said that they do go out
Mhm.
and they do inspections.
So do you want one? By Graves, you want us in touch with Jeff and get that done too, what you were just talking about?
That wouldn't go in the decision, or would it?
We're telling, but
Or we
we'll
just tell them
that
that,
they have to
tell them
do
they
it.
have to have Graves out there at certain,
I think it would go in the
at certain
decision.
periods of time.
I think it would go in the decision, because if they get it and it's not in there, who's gonna tell them? What are you gonna, how are you gonna hold it?
Right. On number 2 of the decision, Bill Scanlon did reference that. I see a little thought.
Okay, so we'll add that. Is that agreed?
Where is that, Kathy?
On the decision,
On the original one? Or the red
on
one?
Bill's, yeah, the one that Bill has all the red on it.
What page?
It should be 6, I believe. I know.
Hmm?
I know.
Yes. So with that, we'll take everything for next Monday night. Email Kathy, she can put it in the rest of you or us who have anything more, and we'll draft it final and write it, give you everything to draw it up final, and Monday night comes, okay? Well, so you can take your time.
When will we actually vote on this?
We'll vote on it Monday night.
Next Monday?
Yeah, because everything should be there, Kathy's just gonna pencil it in between, then she'll type it up, right?
Yeah.
And then we get it back, review, make sure there's no spelling mistakes or the wrong applicant on the top. And then
Hey.
we go from there with it. Oh, yeah, gotta give you a point. All right, so that takes care of that. All right, you got a whole bunch of Gmails in there. Okay, wanna grab them, please? Actually, there's only 2.
And then solar stuff that you need to all redo.
Yeah, well, that'll be the last, that'll be the last. All right, you got something in there, reference gravel pit issues. For years, it's been brought up by one of the elder statesmen here in town about this certain area. that you're looking at. Jack has been involved with it, about 4 years ago.
What was Nick brought it up, right?
Yes, Sue, thank you. No one, it's under the assumption that it's Department of Agriculture. If you look at it, if you're paddling down the river, or you're across at Cliffy's looking across, it's what was left during the glacier area. It's the best Title V sand ever. I mean, you can't find a beach on the East Coast that has better sand than that. And it's just everywhere. And I don't think Kathy had the opportunity, and I'm gonna ask that she ask Jack what his determination on it was. Okay? He is moving the property around down by the river, away from any conservation issues there. Yet, is it a commercial operation? Is it what? Excavator goes in, sand is dug and moved over here, moved over here. He's not under gravel, he's saying he's under agriculture. Well, put it in writing and we gotta get something. And that's what the question is by the individual here tonight, okay? And it is a good question, because you can't take it out of town if it is, and because it's not a commercial operation. We don't have it as a commercial operation yet, okay, in our bylaws. So if they are taking it out, well, then it changes the whole picture and it gets out of
Then it
that
becomes
Department
a
of
gravel
Agriculture.
pit or mining or whatever.
Exactly, it comes out of the agriculture.
That's what I was just gonna ask you. There's no reason having it under agriculture to take anything off the property. If you're taking it off the property, you have to assume that it's being sold, which would change the use of the property. It's no longer agricultural, it's now a mining operation or a gravel pit, one or the other.
And the word assume, as we know.
Well, that's what we knew, that's why we use our building inspector
Right.
and have them go down there and make a determination,
Right.
what are they doing?
So-
And then it's a matter of having them come in and apply for the right permits.
So, would it behoove the board to consider asking Jack to go down and make a determination because we received this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, very good, I answer that one. Phew. Thank you. The next one, reference Little Rest Road.
Highway used to dig it out.
Just hold that.
They did.
Thank you, Sue.
They did, they used to go and dig it out every year.
Our residents do on ours.
Do that one out there,
Yeah.
kiddo. I went up to handle another call that came in last week. Went up there, met with the property owner and everything else, and ironed that out, and that was part of the question. There is no, we have what comes off there is not our problem. It's, the highway had input on that application and did not act on it or make any statements about it. All right, and that's for the record. With that problem, that is a problem that is existing and has been. The letter about water and the road going apart, that's fine. It's going on every place that that man has not, or that department has
And
not acted.
Maintained, that's
And,
right.
and as of today at 2:30, I left a message up there for him to get back to me, and he has not. We do not and will not and cannot have any input on another department who says at the end, what do you have for input? Oh, We have no problems. So it is if the board agrees, it's highway's problem, and it doesn't fall under us when it gets down to that point after him not having any input. So it's up to them, him.
You say you reached out to Tom and he hasn't returned?
No,
from-
he didn't come back. I met with him last week, the same thing.
Should we send him a letter? And
We
then
can
at
send him
least it-
emails and
then at
everything
least
else.
it's in writing, it's like, this is a concern.
We'll forward this to him.
Okay.
And that, actually, the day I went up last week, I mentioned it to Catherine when I got back the next day. Tom was driving by, just haven't been there, 2 houses down, cleaning up the road. Last year, he sent three guys, a sweeper, a backhoe, and a truck up there for 2 days. I know that for a fact.
I don't know what's happening.
And Tom just sweeps it up and takes it away. Well, the incurred cost for the town, instead of taking action on proper drainage before it comes to the road, and these swales that everybody's talking about, that's town. They are responsible, he. Let him know that we wanna follow up to this in writing, okay?
Yeah, same thing on Reed Street, we haven't had any cleaning in the ditches
The
either at all,
neighbors-
2
The
years now.
residents all do it.
Yeah, we
2
all,
years now.
tell me about it. Oh, actually, we can send the bill to Tom for our labor. The other thing you've got, when I left the office this morning, or this afternoon, Kathy got this after I left. And this is the new, what we asked for to review. And what's next Monday night? I'm sorry, the date, Kathy. Just the
The
date.
first? That's the first?
And the following is the 8th. By the 8th, okay? By the 8th, if you have any input, deletions, additives, or question marks. Jeff, I believe, has a copy of this now? Okay, so he's working on it. Anything we
Bill
have.
Scanlon has.
Yeah.
Is this what you're referring to?
Yes, sir. Anything we have, we'll put in writing back to them. And if the moratorium committee can either review it, rebut it, or send it off to Jeff to have added. Okay?
The public hearing, the 15th, 6:15.
Yeah, that's fine, but we can, at the end of the night, we can put it under bylaw review. That's all. So you got the whole copy, as is. This is the time they spent, and come up with this. So let's take it till the 8th. And then the night of the 8th, we'll set aside some time to review it. And then the following day, we'll get it back up to them. And they can consider it, whatever. It's still, there's enough time because, on the 15th, right, Kathy?
Yes.
On the 15th, we have a informational and public hearing on the bylaw that we're going to be getting on the 15th. So it would be, I'm sorry?
Tell them 6:15.
Yeah. It would be nice to have we won't do it if it's not finalized, because we're not gonna give disinformation. I've already made that comment. If it's not finalized, we'll give it at another time. It's not gonna be, we think, based on, okay?
And this article is just to change the chart?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all that is. And the last two things, planning board, town of Palmer, public notice finding, notice of decision on permit number 1905 for Henry and Kathleen Quinneville, Klondike Road. Approved plans, 1-page building permit, River Street, prepared by Sherman and Frederick Land Surveyors. Current use is residential, existing mobile home and residential buildings. project. The project consists of reconstruction and after destruction of the pre-existing non-conforming structures. They will be building a new home in that zone. That's in Palmer. That's the final decision as written. In the town of Brookfield Planning Board. Brookfield Planning Board will be holding a public hearing on application of New Gen Capital Management LLC of Warren, Rhode Island for an amendment to a special permit with site plan approval for the construction and operation of a solar voltaic power generation installation granted by Clean Foot, that's a good deal, LLC of Cape Canaveral, Florida. And the meeting will be on April 3rd, 2019 at 7:30 over in Brookfield. That is for a special permit amendment for that solar facility. Other than that, there's nothing else from the adjoining towns. There are two things I've asked you to do. Hopefully you'll be able to get the first one done on the decision for Sinkafa. We'll send the email to Tom. His inactions are gonna cost the town, and the
Oh,
planning board
big
is
time.
not going to have any involvement with it. He's not stepping up, they're not stepping forward and up, and it all rolls back downhill. Well, that's gonna stop. So we'll get that out to him. If he fails to do anything on Sinkafa, which he sat here through and we made amendments so Jeff could get it done, I'm not asking, I don't think, I don't think the board wants to go further anymore and have to plead with the man to come up with something. The question about having a 24-foot driveway construction, all it takes is he puts 24 feet instead of 16 feet on the application. That can't be done. So everything that's in movement now, we have nothing from anybody, for him. And I think it's well beyond. Although, I'm not him, and we have enough to do here. With that, any comments from anybody here? Kathy, you don't have anything? Other than,
I wanna go home.
Has anybody had
I
a
don't feel
chance
good.
to read
Can I go?
that article that now these solar companies are asking for no tax,
for what?
to pay no taxes?
Okay, you wanna follow up?
Yeah.
Rachel is still waiting for, Rachel has, believe me, a Shih Tzu, when they bite you, they hang on. She's got a bite that ain't let go to any of these towns.
Let me tell you.
She's having lunch, I go walking by, she's on the phone talking to Barry or something today on the pilot program for us, so we can get this in. She's got another call coming in on the pilot program, on hold on the pilot program. And Charlton, again, based on last Saturday, the 16th, is frustrated. The two representatives from the planning board, that was the topic of conversation in the class, was what's happening with Charlton? What's tax exempt? The lawyers. Pamela Brown, she's been there for about as long as I have. No one has made a decision, no one knows what to do. And it's very frustrating for Oxford and Charlton right now. No town knows what to do.
Yep.
There's no decision by the state. So it's still an open ballgame. And it's really annoying to everybody because the towns don't know where to go with some of this stuff. Yet Rachel is all over the pilot program, all over it. And it's in her hands. She will have a copy from me to review next week. I will get it, and Kathy will get it to you guys, and then it's gotta go to the selectmen. And that'll be the final draft of for her review. And then I told her, it would be nice if we had it for Sinkafa.
Are they letting towns design pilots again? There was a time that the DOL wasn't even allowing them.
Yeah, oh
They're
yeah,
back now?
they're back. They're back with a vengeance.
That's actually good for the towns, that's good for the towns. to
It's
be
the
able to-
only thing that's good
Well,
for the
it's gonna,
towns.
it's because it's contractual, it's gonna protect
Yeah.
them from having a tax
Yeah.
money yanked out from underneath them.
Exactly, yeah. So that's what everybody's waiting to find out on. How much more we can do.
It's been my experience with the state that when they take long times on stuff like this, when you feel it really shouldn't take that long, they're trying to figure out how to fix something they screwed up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, I think, what they're doing, is they're trying to figure out how to get out of this. They wrote a law for homeowners, and now everybody else is picking up on it and trying to get over on the tax load.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing anymore,
No,
as
no.
have we seen and been involved with and discussed.
Yep, you write a law, you never know what the reaction's gonna be, or you miss something every time.
If you would and if you can, roll this foyer plans up and we'll take them to the office so Kathy can wallpaper the ceiling down with the rest of Right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made second.
Second.
All in favor? Very good.